What's going on YouTube? Matty Ice here, and today we are talking college football, particularly with the Big 12 and what I think is going to happen to them this football season. We're going to start off with the teams in the Big 12. They are Baylor, Iowa State, Kansas, Kansas State, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas, TCU, Texas Tech, and West Virginia. Last year the first Big 12 team to enter it was Oklahoma, and will the Big 12 have success? The controversy about that is they need a championship game, in my opinion, in order for a team to make it to the Final Four. But like Oklahoma, who only had one loss last year, and if there was another team who was undefeated, I automatically believe that they should be in the playoff games. So that's my opinion on that situation. Now we're talking about the teams. We're going to talk about first off with Baylor. They had a lot of bad things that happened to them in the off season. They got their head coach Art Briles. He's now fired, and Jim Grobe, he's going to be coming in to be the new head coach. I still believe that Baylor will have a good team because they have a lot of talent, and hopefully they'll put all the distractions away from offseason and look forward to the season because, they've been doing really, really well with Art Briles and especially with that offense that they run. So, I'm looking at them to do really, really good this year. Coming up next is Iowa State. They've always been the upset team, having to upset a big team that can't make it to a big bowl game or to the national championship. New head coach Matt Campbell, can he get the job done? Can he bring Iowa State to a bowl game? I believe that he's got some work to do, but Iowa State is still going to be the upset team this year. We're moving on to Kansas, and what can you say about Kansas? They just can't get anything done. Charlie Weiss, head coach over there, I just don't see them getting anything done this year like they have before. So, they could still be doing good. I just don't think that they're going to be able to be in it like they always have been. Moving on to Kansas State, Coach Snyder, he's still going to be the head coach over there. I believe Kansas State, they are going to be okay. They're at least going to make 6-6, 7-5. They will go to a bowl game this year. Can they have success, though, just winning big games, finishing big ones? Over the past couple of years, they've had teams in their grasp, but they've just never been able to finish. So that's going to be my major concern this year is can they finish big games? I hope they do because I'd like to see them doing good things, but it's all up to them. Moving on to Oklahoma, the first Big 12 team to ever make it to the semifinal playoff. They're still going to be really good this year. I believe that they could go undefeated, might lose one game. There's Texas, Oklahoma State, any one of those teams. But I believe that they can make the semifinals and they can win the Big 12 this year. They got a lot of offense coming up. Bob Stoops, historic head coach over at Oklahoma. He's got to get something done, though. He's been able to have great success at Oklahoma, but he's got to win the big ones if he's ever going to get Oklahoma back to winning a national championship. Moving on to Oklahoma State, they've had great success over the last couple of years, but when it gets to the end of the season, they sort of slim down and can't win those last few games. Last year they were in the Sugar Bowl, but, they got almost blown out by Ole Miss. They had a chance to beat Oklahoma and a few other teams, but like I said, they keep getting bad when it gets to the end of the season. But, maybe things will turn around for them this year. Maybe they'll get back in the motion. Maybe they'll compete big and win the Big 12. Just who knows. Moving on to Texas. This is my big story of the year, particularly with Charlie Strong. This is his third year as head coach at Texas, and he was on the hot seat last year, but after that big Oklahoma upset, they got fans getting back in the mood because, look, they had a lot of freshmen that had to play for them last year. And, Charlie Strong, he came into a messed up situation at Texas, and you had to give him a couple more years, but the couple more years is up. He's got to do really good this year, or at least do good enough to make it to a bowl game and win. So that's the thing about Texas. If Charlie Strong cannot get the job done, he's going to be thrown out the door. Moving on to TCU, they've had real good success over the last couple years, winning a Rose Bowl game, being able to beat big opponents. They won the Chick-fil-A Bowl a few years ago, and they came back big against Oregon, beat them in the Alamo Bowl. So anything can happen to them this year. I believe that they're going to be doing okay. It just depends on how they address it. Moving on to Texas Tech, they're still under the radar. I do believe that they're still going to be an upset team. They almost beat TCU last year in the big upset, but, of that last play that happened at the end. But I believe Texas Tech, they're going to make it to a bowl game. They have to get back in it, though, and I believe they'll at least go 6-6. And moving on to West Virginia, honestly, I don't see him doing that good this year. I don't see him having a lot of attributes. They're probably going to have a young team, and I think that if they can get after it a little bit, they might win a few games. But I have them going at least 5-7. They might go 6-6 and win and get to a bowl game, but I just don't have them doing that good this year. Now moving on to the predictions. In last place, I have Kansas, and this could be the last year that Charlie Weis is the head coach. And at number 9, I have Iowa State. Matt Campbell, he's going to have some success this year if he wants Iowa State to get back into the big picture. At number 8, I have West Virginia. At number 7 is Kansas State. Coach Snyder, he's going to have an okay year. This might be his last year. Who knows? And it's just all that. At number 6, I have Texas Tech. They're still going to be under the radar. They're going to at least make a bowl game this year. I will guarantee you that. At number 5, I have Oklahoma State. They're just going to fall back a little bit this year. They'll probably get back in it next season, but I just have them falling out a little bit this year. Moving on to number 4 is TCU. They still have a lot of talent, but a lot of young talent. They're just going to have some guys to come in and step up for them this year. At number 3 is Baylor. A lot of people say Baylor can win the Big 12 this year, but Jim Grobe, I just think that he's going to have some work to do, the whole offseason with Art Briles and everything going on at the Baylor University. He's going to have some things to work out for this year. So I have them at going number 3. At number 2, I have Texas. I believe Charlie Strong is going to get the job done this year. I believe Texas is going to be back on the map and winning big games. But I have Oklahoma winning the Big 12. I believe that Bob Stoops, he's going to have his team ready this year. If they don't get upset by anybody, they could go undefeated. They could win the Big 12, and they could go to the playoff game. And last year they were facing Clemson in the Orange Bowl. They had Clemson for a little while, but when you turn the ball over 4 or 5 times, that loses ball games for you. So that's my predictions this year on what is going to happen to the Big 12, and I just can't wait to see what's going to happen this year.